Welcome to the Privacy News Online Weekly Recap, where we bring you the latest privacy news stories from around the world. My name is Brian Tong, and I'm your host. Without further ado, here's the latest from Privacy News Online. Pakistan's telecom authority is making users register their VPNs. The Pakistan Telecommunications Authority, or the PTA for short, is asking all corporations to register their VPN IP addresses with their internet service provider. The PTA has been trying to ban VPN use since 2010, and they have set a deadline of June 30th for companies to register their VPNs. Now, the authorities are trying to stop the use of VPNs in illegal voice-over IP call centers, but will end up damaging the freedom of expression and internet access of millions instead. 35 members of Congress signed a letter calling for federal agencies to stop spying on Black Lives Matter protests. The congressional letter was addressed to the FBI, the National Guard, the DEA, as well as the CBP. All of these federal agencies have been used to conduct surveillance on ongoing Black Lives Matter protests. The Congress members emphasized that Americans should not have to worry about their privacy when exercising their First Amendment right to peaceful demonstration. Federal tax dollars should not be spent on domestic surveillance, and it is nice to see that at least some politicians understand that. A new paper examines privacy threats in intimate relationships. A new research paper by Karen Levy and Bruce Schneier looks into a new class of privacy threats known as intimate threats, which stem from those in intimate relationships such as families, romantic relationships, caregiver relationships, or close friendships. Intimate relationships make for a different type of privacy risk due to certain factors such as shared devices or other privacy-reducing side effects of co-presence. Now, the paper delves into characteristics of different types of intimate relationships and provides suggestions on how app developers may be able to create apps that account for intimate privacy risks. Nintendo April hack actually affected 300,000 users. Now, remember the Nintendo hack which leaked 160,000 Nintendo network IDs back in April? Well, Nintendo has now updated the total number of hacked accounts to 300,000. And that's probably a whole lot of Animal Crossing players. The company discovered the additional hacked accounts while investigating the initial breach. Nintendo said no credit card information was leaked, that only some of the accounts were used to make fraudulent purchases, and that refunds for all affected customers are almost done. But what about my turnip prices? Data Privacy Group releases findings from study on 108 COVID-19 apps. The International Digital Accountability Council has published a report that looked at data protection levels across 108 COVID-19 apps from North America, Europe, and Asia. Some key findings were that only about 20% of the apps made any mention that they would encrypt sensitive patient health data. Additionally, more than half asked for potentially intrusive permissions, and a handful even came with third-party software development kits. One app was even found to transmit patient data unencrypted. Yikes. Now, the report notes that while most apps have good privacy and security practices, some do not follow best practices. Norway to stop COVID-19 track and trace app following warning from data protection watchdog. The Norwegian Institute of Public Health announced Monday that they would stop their COVID-19 track and trace app and delete any information that has been collected thus far. This came after the Norwegian Data Protection Authority warned that given the current state of the pandemic, it was no longer worth the privacy risk of collecting and storing all this data. While the health officials disagreed, they complied with the warning and have shut down the country's COVID-19 contact tracing app. Now you're up to date on the latest privacy news. Privacy News Online is brought to you by Private Internet Access, the award-winning no-log VPN service who reminds you to always use protection. Sign up now using the link below, where you can also find a link to learn more about all the stories in this week's Privacy News Online. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Brian Tong, and we'll see you next week.